Hello, welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go. And this morning, I was listening to a video by one of my favorite video YouTubers, Tabitha. And I enjoy her. I do enjoy her videos a lot. They're not only informative but entertaining too. But this one, it just really grabbed me, and it was what inspired me to choose the topic of the Great Awakening of stepping up. And what really grabbed me was that she talked about her ancestors talking to her. So as a medium, of course, that's going to get my attention. And I will put it in probably in the comments since I do that best. Her video is titled, "Because of Black People, Things Aren't Going as Planned." And what she briefly means by that is that because I think, the Project 25 people have had a game plan. And she says, it was free and there for us to read or download. I didn't need to. I had a very good idea of what it was all about. Although other people I did advise that they should read it, and they didn't. So at any rate, she's talking about hearing from their ancestors who told her to stay, when the protests begin, to stay home. And I immediately realized, because Black people, especially Black women, have really stepped up. And now it's time for and I did have to add the word Christian, because I think Jewish people and other religions and Buddhists they're and Muslims are kind of in a little bit of a different category that I call not quite white. Okay, so but at any rate, your generic white Christians, straight people, well, I guess mixed straight and gay. It's kind of like they haven't entirely stepped up. And Black people have been good. And I remember back in the 60s, this was way before Tabitha. She wasn't even born yet. But this was back in the day when people literally got their heads bashed in. And so, and I think this is a lesson from the Black Lives Matter, because they always put some of their people in there to start some trouble, and what they want to do is blame it on the blacks. And the Black Lives Matter, that was a preview of coming attractions. So Minneapolis has been the really great example of, yes, they are stepping up. And so I thought that of the two cards of the year, I used the Death card. And I believe that what it represents, it's, he is kind of on a journey, and, there are people that have to be left behind. So what this is saying, that a lot of people that are getting out in the streets that maybe thought a year ago they would never be doing that, I'm kind of calling it a great awakening of a sort, because it is a group of people who have probably been supporting liberal causes, but kind of like letting other people go out there and do it for them. And I can tell you, from having gone to my fair share of protests, going back to the Vietnam protests and so on. And I have liked, because I've seen her and other Black people doing videos about saying, when the No Kings March is saying, stay home, and white people coming up and saying, chill out, go to lunch, go get your nails done, do what you need to do, because we've got you. We've got you. You have done your bit. I think the only thing I was saying, as long as you show up to vote, that's all that really matters. And because the thing is that the Project 25 and the MAGA group, they want to, because Black people are visible, because of the color of their skin, they make good scapegoats and targets. So it's been very, very heartening to see for the No Kings March that there have been huge numbers coming out, but but the darker faces haven't been there, and I understand why. So before I go further, I want to pick the secondary card. I forgot to do it the last time, but maybe I wasn't supposed to. So I want to pick the secondary card from another deck and see what we've got. So we have Three of Pentacles in reverse. I think this goes to some things are because in upright position they're negotiating. This is kind of like non-negotiable. It's like don't even go there and try to convince a certain kind of group that would be targeted and be very bad for the rest of us, because then that gives people the perfect excuse to declare martial law. So I understand what she's saying, and sometimes I understand it on a level that's hard to put into words, but I exactly understand her. And I do like the fact that when she was saying that the ancestors told her and the rest of her community not to go. And so I believe that people from spirit have been talking to me as far as this, and to me this is kind of an awakening for a certain group of people. I think we're all going to be going through this in a different way, and it's not, like other people I've seen on the internet. It's not going to be like, which is important to have a habit of doing, meditating and breathing, but it's not going to be like that and boom, a bolt of lightning strikes you and you're enlightened. This is the kind of thing. It's the Aquarian age showing up with the very big group thing. So Minneapolis is an interesting place which is the heart of, because of the two people being killed, it's the heart of this, and everything is like the stones got thrown in Minneapolis and the ripples are going. Now it's going out around the world because they're London and probably Paris. They're showing up too, and which is very interesting because you don't get much Minnesota with its Scandinavian. Really heavily Scandinavian, settlements in the 19th century, and their descendants that live there, and of course other races are there. But that's those are the people that they really pushed in, and they were there first, and they kind of dominate. So it doesn't get any wider than that. But the fact they're showing up, which to me is really incredible. Now, since the beginning of the year, well, actually, it was back in November. I went to see Nuremberg, and then that last week, I saw again Judgment at Nuremberg, and I've been watching old videos and newsreels. Not so much of the horrors, although they speak of that as in the Holocaust, because I do have to make this connection. But I've been watching about what happened to these war criminals after they got caught in their trials. And Mossad went after one guy that was particularly brutal. And let me put it this way, they did not bring him back like they did with Eichmann. And I looked at some videos about him, about these god-awful female guards at the camps, and you don't want to know, and up to the Himmler and all these other, and Goering and all these other people, and what happened to them and their families. And all of this is about accountability. So I'm starting to believe that when I get drawn to certain movies or reading certain things, that it's kind of like the spirit the spirit world is talking. And as I've said, I have had in my work, I've brought through survivors of the Holocaust. I remember one in particular who was a patient in hospice, and I was doing a reading for a hospice nurse. and he a really nice gentleman and passed, and he was quite a character. Brought him through. I've brought soldiers through that have landed at D-Day, that were on the deck of the Missouri when they surrendered, with the Japanese surrendered to MacArthur. And I've also brought through people that liberated the camps. And for some, when I saw, again, Judgment at Nuremberg, I think the thing was I was really focused more than I ever had been on the Richard Widmark character, because he is representative of these people coming out in the streets. A white Christian, straight white Christian male who portrayed someone who liberated the camps and had the PTSD from it, but then decided to, he was a lawyer, so he decided to, and it was his mission in life was to make these people accountable, these war criminals accountable. So I did a little bit of digging in the actor's life. I love how these things connect. Turns out he is from Minnesota. He was from Minnesota, and he's of Swedish and Anglo ancestry. So I feel as though, he's now in spirit. He passed in 2008. And I really see him and the character he portrayed is kind of like what's out there in the street. So I feel as though maybe I've been connecting with his spirit and probably the spirit of people, again, people that did liberate the camps. And it's been quite amazing to see it through that. But this is kind of part of this. Now it's time for people that are more in the acceptable or ruling class or whatever you want to call this, stepping up and saying, this is no longer acceptable. It's no longer, and I'm going to have my voice heard. And these marginalized people they've been making the sacrifices. And I feel as though these two people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, are, they lost their lives, and they represent the mainstream of Minnesota and the United States. And this comes back to the poem of they came, first they came for, and so on and so on. So I feel as though this is maybe this is really part of the Great Awakening. And this is what I've wanted to emphasize on these, and how this is affecting us spiritually. So I want to do a reading on how these white people showing up at the protests, and it's not only been Minnesota, but it's so symbolic of this because of the ethnicity of the area, and what these mean to everyone spiritually, not only to their, but I would say with, the Tabitha's not the only black person that heard from, her, because I believe we all connect with people in our spirit world. She's not the only one that black person that connected with her ancestors, but I think other groups did in their own special way. And in my work, I realize, these are the people that I've been talking to in readings. So I just want to see what this means, because I think this means that even if black people need to sit out the protests, that we're linked with them spiritually, because we all have our different roles to play. So I want to see what this means spiritually for our growth and our development. So here goes. Yeah, hopefully. I think this ought to be a little different than what the other readings are, even though I was inspired. This isn't the same kind of a thing that she did. And I've been busy shuffling cards. So let's see. With my multiple decks. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so where we're at now with all of this is the Star. The Star. This is about spiritual awakening, but it's and I do agree with some of these other YouTube tarot people, is that the Star is the United States. And what this is showing me, this may be the better, we've been saying what god-awful things have been happening. this may be the better part of the United States coming out. And, this is about our star is beginning to shine, but also it's important because she's blending the spiritual world and the material world. It's a form of alchemy. So this is incredibly important. And plus, I think people are, what is coming out in those Epstein files is just like you just cannot be silent anymore, because it's worse than, as I've been saying. I can't even repeat them. You can go look at some of these other videos and read some stuff. It's just awful. So we have here, leading up to this, in the past, just before coming up to this, is the upright. They're getting ready to, like, are we going to get together or are we not going to? I guess they're a little bit hesitant. But I think what this is saying in reverse is saying, like, we no longer have, the luxury of being disconnected. And I think that with this new thing, with everybody has their part to play. Some need to go, some people don't need to go. But even though it may seem like we're a little bit distant, we're playing our parts, and we're realizing we are in this together. So in the immediate following of this realization is, in this way, we've set the trap for the oligarchs and all the other douchebags in the Project 2025. I think a lot of them think they're getting away with stuff, but in this way we've laid, with black people not showing up, the trap is laid. The trap is set, and they don't know that they're stepping into it. Boy, I'm really liking this reading so far. Okay, and then the energy of this, I do sometimes like to give them a little bit of a shuffle between. Okay, so the energy of all of this is the Knight of Swords in reverse. This is, I think the energy is seeing how we have been lied to. And this has to do with some of the younger people, like the Matt Gaetzes and some of these people that put this, this perfect Christian evangelical front on, but they're anything but what Jesus was talking about. So this is, amidst this is all the lies, but a part of the awakening up is to see the lies. Okay. And then this goes really well with the trap is set. Okay. So then underlying all of this, we have one thing this past year, and well, I guess since the election, has been, we have been thrown out of our comfort zones. We can no longer be content with sitting back. And this is not only about, this is kind of looking after your neighbor and kind of like getting out of your own little world. And so we have here the Hermit card of, what I think has happened is that a lot of people have awakened individually about, we haven't stepped up in the past. We've kind of stayed in our own little groups, but now it takes just one person to kind of shine the light and meet up with other people. So this is the spreading of the knowledge of this. And this is the good thing that the internet can do. There's the dark side, but this is the good side. Okay. And what's happening is that we're walking away from all the old emotional garbage that we have been fed by these people trying to push this Project 25, but also, the family members or the friends, or probably former friends, that have tried to push a lot of the BS on us. about with bigotry and all this sort of thing. And that is where, we get the Holocaust connection. And that is in reverse. It is going towards your family. And it's not always your blood family, but it's the new families that you've formed in this movement. So the opposing card here we have is the Four of Swords, and that's, we've had the time to reflect. I think that 6 years ago, the COVID kind of forced us into that. So now it's time to get up, or if you don't get up, you're just going to be stuck in your stuff. So this is what this has been doing. Okay, so let's see what we've got on the conscious level of where we are at now. And I'm glad to see that you had thousands of people watching this. And I think that, like me, there are people that are from outside the Black community that are very interested in what she has to say. And it's kind of like our way of all connecting too. So on the conscious level, I think right now people are beginning to take a look at things and to see what's real, to see what's fishing. But it is, I would say, it is awakening to, we can't live in a vacuum. I think that I am not the only one that's been watching these videos on YouTube and seeing movies like both of the Nuremberg movies, is saying that we have to be aware of what has happened in the past and the history, and to not make the same mistakes, but it kind of like trying to trust it. So on the subconscious level, I think there's a big fear of losing, because maybe you're thinking, oh, they're stronger than us and but no, there's more of us than there are them. But I think there is a little bit of a fear because they've put out a lot of fear. And I think what this is telling me is that this is my rule, if you are aware of what's going on and certain things that remind you of the older people when you were a kid who survived that, are saying this is what it was like in Germany in the 1930s, you know that already. You don't need to watch a video about it. And as much as I love Jennifer and Angie on the I've Had It, and the other one the other day is hilarious about, well, I won't say that, but it's the male parts. It's hilarious because they said, you got to lighten up sometime, but as much as I like them, if they're saying like, oh, he's going to try to steal the election. Okay, I know that. I don't need to hear about that because it gets too depressing. I know, I'm aware, and you work to do something about that. So I would say, like, don't live in the fear of losing. So in the past, with all of this, we have, the devil. The devils. Oh, this is really interesting because in this before tarot, hope you like their bathing suits. Good old YouTube just turned me into a fashion artiste. Okay, so in the devil card, we have these people who are, he's getting ready to start the day and trying to put them, get them all settled in on their different places. And I would say that they have a choice. They have a choice not to let him push them around, but they're kind of trying to make up their mind in here. We're going to sit down with these chains on and be chained to him. And I think that a lot of people have been kind of afraid, and this is, being recovering alcoholic, there is a fear, and quitting smoking, boy, was that a big fear of giving that comfort up after getting sober and everything. But it's about the fear of leaving the comfort zone of the addiction and the conflict with it. So I think that in the past, a lot of people have been that way of like sort of being, and I'm going to say that, not, it's not like the whole street, all the streets are filled with disgruntled MAGAs, but there's a growing number of them. But I would say that, being surrounded by people that they kind of want to break away, but they're afraid to leave the comfort zone. So we've been, whether you're one of those or not, we've been kind of drowning in that energy, and it's been pretty difficult. So then we have here in the present, oh, the Queen of Wands. I'm telling you, these queens, especially this one, they've been showing up in readings. I call her the mystery woman. I don't think there's one liberator that's going to come out and save us. That doesn't exist. But I'm going to say this is a strong and powerful female energy. And I would say that because of the element of fire, that she may be, look at her, look at this behind. Is that yeah, that's kind of like a torch. That she, I consider people that are inspirational as they kind of light the match and set the fire of inspiration, but they're telling you to think for yourselves too, that they don't demand loyalty. They're there to get the spark going. And that they do, that's what really good leaders do. So I think there's someone out there that's going to light the torch. Maybe it could be a few women that we know about, but I feel as though there's someone waiting in the shadows for that. But this is strong female energy, and the thing is that it has been Black women that have been going out and putting themselves out on the line for the rest of us, and and I'd say that this represents a very powerful source of inspiration. But what this is saying now, and I think Tabitha is far from being alone. What this is, because you don't see the Black faces, and you don't. But I think what these Black ladies are saying is that we're lighting the torch and we're passing it on to you. So I think this is what this. Then I'm getting chills now. So I'm thinking that this is the message of this Queen of Wands, that she represents that, but so much more, that there probably will be a leader doing this. So coming up in the future with the After Tarot, we have, this is interesting, because I think what this is telling, instead of the hand holding the big coin with the Ace of Pentacles, it looks as though it's holding a beetle, which I looked that up because of the King of Wands and some other stuff in the tarot. And that is about a spiritual awareness and awakening. Now, that pentacle is there for the grabbing. But sometimes people may have to drop the idea of the material world for their more spiritual needs. And because the ruling class oligarch, the tech bros, and all those other douchebags, they're pretty much saying, well, it's very mafioso stuff. Well, it's business, so it's okay. And what this is saying, no, that maybe we're not going to lose the prosperity, but maybe we need to look after our spiritual lives and make that a priority, and then this will be picked up later. Or I'm dropping this, and also I'm dropping this at the end of the day to take care of my spiritual life. So that's very interesting. So this is in the future. I think what this is saying is putting money and prosperity in its proper place, and perhaps not listening to those Bible thumping, prosperity, pseudo law of attraction preachers on Sunday morning that, boy, they were around since I was a kid, although they've kind of gotten a little bit more sophisticated. who would say, they want you to empty out your pocketbook to them. So I want to do one more little future thingy here. Oh, interesting. So we've got the four of swords again in reverse. So I think what this is saying is that, see, in the upright position, that person is waking up the guy on the casket, saying it's time to go now. But in reverse, what this is saying really has to be up to us to do it. That maybe we don't have mommy around anymore to tell us when it's time to get up. So I think a lot of this is what this is saying is that this is definitely a conscious decision. So in the hopes and the fears, we have lots of things are going to be happening. I'm shying away because there's like the YouTube is flooded with them as the yearly and monthly forecasts. I may go do that again, but with this focus, I think there's enough people doing those. I would say there's a lot that's going to be happening. We're getting into eclipse and probably retrogrades and all this sort of thing. So this is upright. So by getting your own spiritual house together, which means, okay, like me, maybe you do a meditation, sit in the power in the morning, get up and go about the rest of your day. But the rest of it is connecting with people. I think there's going to be a lot of things happening. And as MAGA starts to fail, we have the hopes that a lot of things will happen. Good things, that these arrows will hit the target. The fear is, it's like, it may be so much it's overwhelming. But I think we can get over that. So, in looking to see what the rest of the world is thinking of us, so we have how we see ourselves in this, and judgment. This is very interesting because this is a matter of self-esteem. I believe that a lot of us, no matter what lip service we have to our European friends, no, we're not like this, all this sort of thing. I think there is some fear. It's a bit goes with this guy. It's a bit on the codependent side about like thinking, oh my God, the rest of the world is judging us really badly. It's really easy to get into that thing when you see that they don't want to trade with us. They don't want to do this, that, or the other thing. So we say, well, we're not like that. But unfortunately, since we live in the United States, we're fearing that we're being judged because of who we have pooping up the White House. Okay, so that's how we're seeing. I think that there may be kind of like a little bit of a low opinion or the fear of being judged. But I would say that as people go through, because we go through all kinds of transformations. It's not only one big thing. When we go through these things, there's always the doubts and a little bit of the fear because of going into the unknown, which is what judgment in reverse tells me. Okay, how do others see us as? I think they see us as an emotional needy mess. But I would say it's kind of like, well, if putting myself at other parts of the world, saying, yeah, they're emotional, they're needy, but wouldn't I be too? So I think where they're seeing us is kind of going through this emotional, very female energy, emotional crisis, but I would say not in a negative way. That is kind of because in order to get to some sort of enlightenment, you got to go through this. So that I think they see that, they understand that, and with that could come a little bit of manipulation and all that kind of thing. But we're in territory that we don't know. So I want to do a concluding reading with the our buddies, the Radiant Rider White. Okay. I already shuffled them, but I wanted to do, okay, so in conclusion, a lot of us are really, we are worried about our economic state right now, and it's something that we can't ignore, and we have to like not live in denial about that. But it's our individual lives. And I did just mention the whole thing with trade and everything, because people with half a brain know that when we have trade problems, we're going to be paying more for a lot of stuff, or we're not going to get a lot of stuff. So there is that worry, but I would say it's important to acknowledge it and not try to fight it. So the energy with this is, that's what we're going through, but we're stronger than we think. That, yeah, I do. I'm with the rest of this positive psychics saying we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. We're much stronger than we realize right now. It's hard to believe it, I know, but we really are. So, and also this goes back to the original thing that's like, when you see others that are in the same boat, and you either go to the protests, or you do your contribution by giving people counsel about how to act with the police and everything, and that sort of thing, if you're not able to, but that we all have our strengths together. We all might be doing things, white people protest, black people not going but voting, that sort of thing. But but we're still, even though we're not sitting in the same protest or the same room, spiritually we're all in this together, and that makes us very strong. So it's important for people to accept what people can do and what they can't do. So I'm going to do a little bit of it. Oh, here we go with the devil. Yep. In the past, it's kind of like breaking, and it's like breaking some of the old habits that we're stuck with, and it goes back to now is the time. If you have substance abuse problems, deal with them. If you have emotional problems because of all of this, go get help. But the devil, you have a choice. Oh, I have her in a little cocktail dress. Okay, you have a choice. You do have a choice. That you don't have to be chained to the devil. You think you are, but you don't. But this is where we were kind of in the past. And then we've got the Page of Wands in reverse. It's like, yeah, again, when you're going to these things, beware the agent provocateur. It's been old. They did that in Chicago in '68, where they get their own to stir up trouble. Do not buy into it. There will be little setbacks and little, and different problems. But the thing with the Tower in reverse is saying is that learn the lesson from it, because if you don't, the towers will get bigger and bigger in their upright position. And then the Hanged Man. So now is the time, if you need to take a little pause to figure out your next move, go ahead and do that, because he's and maybe trying to see things from a different perspective too. And this not only goes along with the movement, but this is really, I think that with your own spiritual life, that this goes hand in hand. Definitely goes hand in hand. So then we have, moving right along. So then we have Trump the liar, big fat liar, with the King of Swords in reverse. And that's what I'm saying. Emperor reversed is his whole persona. The kings in reverse are the different unattractive traits that he has. So we have the liar of the king. He's going to keep spreading them. He's really going. That's good to be aware of this. And the same as the people in your life that may not be on board of this will tell you all kinds of lies. So it's just watch out, because there it is. Interesting card to end with. And we have, it's a good, because we began with this. We have the Death card as we continue on the journey, because a lot of what this is about is really letting go of a lot of things that may either work for us in the past, we're indoctrinated. This means that there's certain people by the wayside that they're never going to get it. And I'm not going to be nasty about it, but you kind of say goodbye to them. But I also want to say that it's important to see in the thumbnail, in this flag is the spirit of Jeffrey Epstein, because it all comes back to him. It all comes back to him. And this is the big banner that's being waved. So this is a lot about people that have been through sexual abuse or trafficked, and they're recovering from it. That all of this coming out here is to tell you that now is the time to deal with this. You'll never forget the trauma, but at least you can let a lot of it go and move on, and not let it hang on. It'll be there in the shadows, but it won't have a hold on you anymore. So that's a big thing, the message that's saying it's there, you got to face it. And when you do, you can get through to it on the other side, because that's really important as far as this jury to the pillars, that in my moon card, that do not have to be the towers waiting at the end of the stream, but it's part of the and maybe for a lot of you said, oh, I'd never go to a protest. Well, maybe you need to get over it, because a lot of it is not only black people, but a lot of other people have really put in their time, gone to jail, had problems, this and that. So maybe it's time to give a few people a break and have the others step out there. But it is all a very personal choice. So I really do think that part of the awakening is finding your community. And I would say I think a big message that she probably didn't state, but I think it's under there, is that white people should not be criticizing people of color not showing up at these things. That they should not be judged by this at all. So I would say we've all got our part to play, but I really think that the spiritual lesson is it really does bring us all together in the end. So I want to thank, she doesn't know who the hell I am, but I want to thank Tabitha I believe she's from Atlanta, for inspiring this. And I hope someone, and that's what I'm saying, there's the queens and the kings out there that of wands, that they light that torch and it's like, oh wow, I hadn't thought of it this way before. So at any rate, I'll leave you with that thought and say bye-bye for now.